Okay, so we are starting the final battle presumably next week. We set up a lot this week. This episode was jam packed. And I talked about it last week, talked about how disappointing the end was. And we got something at the start. I talked about that in the preview too. The trailer I saw, it didn't have it translated, but obviously now it was translated and whatnot. So they did throw, a little. I don't want to say welcome home, but like welcome to the team at the cafe for Don Black. But it really got there wasn't really much to it because we don't stay there for long. So it starts out with them. They're all just eating at the table, and then Don Black's at another table looking at the manga, which again the future Don Yellow gave to our present team. And he's kind of looking through it, trying to figure out what's going on and everything. And so Six Ranger's like, hey Taro, you still on for tomorrow to come to my village and whatnot? I forget what is it. I think it was Kaku Village. I think it was the name of it. And this immediately piqued Don Black. He's like, hey, I want to come with. I want to do a team bonding and all this other crap. And so, Six Ranger's like, yes, another person that I can introduce to the village. So he's excited about that. And then they all kind of get cut off from eating again by Don Pink, who comes in and it's just like, hey, I'm not accepting Don Black to the team after what he did to my Mio. I will not allow it. I don't care what you say, Taro. I don't care what any of you say. He's not a part of this team. And they're about to come to blows. Taro gets between them. And, Don Black, again, tries to tell him again, hey, that's not Natsumi, that's not Mio, that's a bestial, and Don Pink just won't have it, won't listen to it. Even Don Red's like, hey, he's right, he's actually right. So, you gotta calm down here, and he's like, no, you guys are idiots, I hate you all, and he runs off, runs away. He comes back at the end of the episode as the Monster of the Week, we'll get into that at the end. So, then they, have... There's this. I guess we'll touch on the mini scenes here with the Cerebrians throughout. So they're all kind of right after Don Pink leaves. There's a little scene here of they're all in an elevator. I don't know where they're going. Kind of doing whatever, And two of them are like, hey, let's go get, what is it, Ring of Forgiveness, I think it's called, because they want to join the Donbrothers. We actually see that in the trailer where they're all kind of together. Doing the poses. We saw that in the trailer for last week. It's actually just like a dream sequence, essentially, of, hey, this is what we want to do. And Sona's like, hey, I'm a Cerebrian. I'm not getting down with that. You screw your idea. I'm the leader here. We're not going to get with them. And so there's this funny scene where, just after he says that, he says something like, we lost to humanity or whatever, and then the elevator doors open, and a flood of people coming in, and they all get squished up, they're all squished up against the wall. So then later on in the episode, again, I'll kind of cut through because again, there's just small little sections. We see the brown Cerebrians out reading manga, and I'm just gonna call him the silver Cerebrian. I forget what it's Sonanai or something. I forget. They're all so similar. He was silver color essentially, and so he was he's kind of like the brute of the new three, which again we'll see. We'll talk about them at the end of the episode. Goes to the brown Cerebrian, and they kind of have a face off, and we don't see anything. Then later on in the episode, we get the white Cerebrian who's doing her thing, attracting men. And this one guy's like, hey, would you be a part of my, I think it was a movie. I believe he was filming a movie. He's like, hey, you want to, be the secondary or the second main character in my movie with me and whatnot. And then he looks over and sees a purple-haired woman who he's like, you know what? Screw you. I thought you were someone else. Goes over to her. Goes over to the purple-haired woman, the purple Cerebrian. And she's like, hey, I know I'm beautiful. Slams his face into, she had pasta on the table. And then he stands up. She stands up too, and he just kind of blows. He just, and guy just kind of falls backwards into a bunch of pans. That, at least that's what the sound was. And then we don't see anything with Sonai until the end of the episode when he's fighting Don Blue and Don Yellow, who are fighting the Monster of the Week, Don Pink. So we'll get to that again at the end. So that's the main, I guess, subplot here. Then, back to the main plot here. We really focus on this village. I believe it's Kaku Village is what they say. But it's very similar to a name. I think it was Goga or Gogu. That was in the manga, so very similar, not exactly the same. But it was the same amount of syllables, I believe. And so they're really focused on that. Don Black's like, hey, like this is what I'm seeing. He's showing Toro Donred the manga. So they get there, and then they're walking down, I guess, kind of like a main road. And all of a sudden Toro kind of feels his presence. Thinks he sees a bestial, kind of stops, kind of looks around. Because it doesn't see anything. Sixer and she's like, hey, like, come on, let's keep going. So they get to the police station, which I guess I should touch on this too real quick. There is, they played up for a gag, but there is this scene when they're on the bus too, going there, of a refrigerator takes them to the bestial world. I forget, it was like demons or whatever in the manga, and so they find out that they're refrigerator is at the police station refrigerator. So Six Ranger's like, hey, like, okay, we'll go stop there first if you guys want to go to the refrigerator. So they get there, there's no one there, there's no one in the town really. And so they're sitting there waiting. So Six Ranger's like, hey, like, I'll go find Rumi, I'll go find the my adoptive father. I'll go find a bunch of people and you can meet them eventually. So we focus on Don Black and Don Red, and they find the refrigerator almost immediately, and so Don Black starts pulling out everything from the fridge, and Toro kind of pushed him in there. It's like, hey, try going deeper, see if you can go deeper, maybe you have to flick a switch or something, or you have to go really deep in there or something. And so Don Black is, frustrated. He stands up. He's like, hey, like, I'm tired of this. I hate you. I don't know why I'm listening to you. I should not be listening to you. So Toro kind of softens up. He's like, can you try to, see if you can go deeper in there, transform. So he does, and Toro slams the door, and you just see his hand stuck in the door. And you just hear him just screaming, ow, 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 ow. So, Toro eventually lets up. They get in each other's face again. And just as they're about, Toro's like, hey, about to soften up again. We see the police officer guy come in, and he's like, oh, you thieves? What's going on here? So they sit down, have a conversation. We find out that he was a former Don Clan member who got turned into a bestial. He wanted to be immortal. And so he's essentially a gatekeeper for the bestial world, which I guess it technically was never said where it was, because eventually, Toro goes through his own portal. We'll get to that in a second. But, they want to question him on that, wonder why, he's doing what he's doing, how to get there, why is he being a guardian, stuff like that. And so the police officer's like, hey, like, just start rubbing my back, start rubbing my feet. So Don Black's like, hey, like, I hate bestials, I hate all of them, I don't give a crap if it's a former Don Clan member, I don't want to do any of this. So Toro kind of lightens up and says, hey, like, if you try to do it, we should get answers from him. So we get a little bit of an answer from him, and then Don Black kind of stops, or I'm sorry, he doesn't massage the feet hard enough, because he had feet duty. And so the bestial kind of stops talking about how he's a guardian, how he's the protector, and how humans are constantly getting in there apparently. So apparently, if you go to this village, there's an easy access to another world. So he's trying to protect them from that, trying to keep humans away. But he doesn't go on any further because Don Black isn't massaging hard enough. So he's about to walk out of the house, and Toro's like, hey, like, just do it. Let's get through this. Let's get these answers we need So he's like, okay, fine. So he stands on his feet and just kind of like, steps on his feet to massage the feet. And he talks about more how he, as a guardian, needs a replacement, and that's going to be the Sixth Ranger. Because even though bestials are immortal, you're immortal until the body of the real person who they took over is constantly alive, or until they die. So as long as they're alive in the forest sleeping, you're good to go. As soon as they, die of old age or whatever, let's say there's a fight or something, and one of them gets speared by a sword or something like that. That's it kills them in the forest, and it kills the bestial on whatever planet they are, whether that's Earth or wherever. So he's like, hey, I gotta turn the Sixth Ranger into a the next Guardian step by step. And so just before we're getting any more answers, Don Black's like, hey, I'm tired of this. I just want to know where my Natsumi... Well, he doesn't say Natsumi, but he's like, hey, I want to get to this forest right now. Show me how to get back there. And, the police officer doesn't say anything. Toro, tells him, hey, like, do it. Come on, like, let's just get more answers here. And, Don Black's like, hey, I've had enough. I've had enough. Storms out. And then we get a conversation between Don Black and Don Red, and how Don Black, the second he met Toro, he's like, hey, I've hated you ever since. I'm tired of you giving me orders. You do not represent everything I want to be. You're not allowed to tell me what to do and whatnot. And so they kind of start fighting over Don Purple, the sword, Masame, whatever. And Don Red's like, hey, like, I'm gonna need that in the future. Like, if I'm, because he's thinking he wants to become the next, basically take the Sixth Ranger place and become the Guardian. So he's like, hey, like, I can't let that be in a human's hands. I want to hold on to that, keep that for myself. So if I need it and whatnot, to protect the bestials. And Don Black's like, hey, like, why are we protecting the bestial? He's so upset. They transform. They start coming to blows, and then they hear the Sixth Ranger kind of really talking loudly. So they go over and peek in a window, and we see the Sixth Ranger's perspective first of him talking to a bunch of Rumi and a bunch of other people around this table, all eating food and whatnot. And he's like, oh crap! I was supposed to introduce you guys to these two of my new friends from the city. And they're all like, oh, who cares about them? You got us. And so then we switch to Don Black and Don Red's perspective from the window, who find out, Sixth Ranger's sitting alone. He's at the table alone. There's a bunch of food on the table, but only he's eating it. So then we get this scene where Rumi's like, hey, like, close your eyes. I got something for you. And he's like, okay, I'll do that for you guys. And we see this floating penguin. And so basically, essentially, the image of Rumi is going to feed him the penguin, and it's going to, slowly help him transform into a bestial. But Don Red jumps in real quick, says, I'm not going to let this happen. Sixth Ranger has his eyes closed the whole time. He doesn't, know anything. He doesn't get involved in anything from here on out. He's closing his eyes. And so Toro stops it, grabs it. Police officer guy, comes in and says, hey, like, don't get in my way. Like, why are you getting in my way here? And Toro's like, hey, this is not a human's responsibility to be the Guardian. It's mine. I'm, a Don Clan member. Let me do that. So he shoves the penguin in his mouth, starts choking on it, runs outside, creates a portal, and then we get this really, really interesting scene where just as it's getting sucked through the portal, his Don Blaster goes off. And what happens is he, I guess, somehow, I don't know if it's a new gear or what, but the gear transports itself back to the main city, where Dom Pink has popped up as, again, the monster of the week. Dom Blue and Dom Pink are, struggling to fight up. They can't obviously transform into, the Megazord because, again, they need five of them. They don't need six. They need five of them for, one of the Megazords. And so they can't transform, so, Dom Pink's like, ha, you guys aren't going to kill me. I'm not going to allow it. You need me. And so all of a sudden, the gear comes out of the sky, transforms into this brand new bug Megazord. And I'm hoping that we get like a new form, like like a human size form, like not Megazord, but like an actual human form for this, because this was a real sick design for a Megazord design. You had a butterfly, a I forget, it was some I forget the name of it. Is it stag beetle? I think. You had a dragonfly. You had I think, was there an ant? There might have been an ant too. Point is, there was a bunch of different bugs that made up the Megazord here, and he two shots. He two shots. Don Pink, in the Monster of the Week form, but he doesn't untransform. He goes back down to human size, and that's when we get the. I guess let me get to the Toro thing here. So, the face changes, so it looks like Toro's face as as the Megazord, and then it changes to like a again, it's like a beetle. I think it's stag beetle. I think is what the beetle's called. It changes faces on the Megazord and just kind of walks away, disappears, along with the platform that they're always fighting on. And so Dom Pink goes back to human form. Okay, so I had to stop the recording there for a second. Where was it? Oh yeah, I was at the part. So the Megazord defeated the Monster of the Week, which was Dom Pink. He went back down to human size, and then they're about to, all three of them again. Sonai and Don Blue, Don Yellow, about to fight them. When the other three Cerebrians show up, and it's the one that this was, I think, like 5 episodes ago, when he showed up, got defeated by them all. Now he, again, shows up with his own team now, and they start beating up Dom Pink, and eventually Dom Pink gets trapped in a cube, and the cube shrinks out of existence, so, went back to the world, or I guess the pocket dimension, where all those other humans are, so it's not, I believe it's not officially death. They talked about it being death, the Cerebrians, killing people and whatnot. I believe it's not actually death. I think it's just a captive. You're a prisoner somewhere else. So he shrinks, he disappears. Don Blue and Don Yellow are freaking out. And then we go back to Toro, who is now hanging in the forests by the vines. We see a bunch. I think there's 4 or 5 bestials kind of surrounding him. And so, we hear the music. Or not the music, but I guess the vocals of a woman's voice again singing throughout the forest, and then that's basically how we end. So we have one who's dead, we have one who's trapped in the bestial world. Sixth Ranger, they show everyone together in the next episode. I feel like they could have done a thing where it's like, hey, let's have Don Black go this way, Sixth Ranger go this way, and then you have just blue and yellow, and it's like, okay, well, now we have to work with the Cerebrians. I would have liked that. It's kind of, eventually, by the end of the final fight here, you have everyone together. But no, they go to the preview, and it's all over the preview. We have a bestial Don Red. We have a shot of the Cerebrians, I guess, the main Cerebrians that we've been following all series, doing a joint attack with all 6 Donbrothers. We see the other 3 Cerebrians, the new 3 Cerebrians out there kind of causing mayhem and havoc around the city. Bunch of fights in the next episode. So we're at the fight stage. And this really, to me, especially this trailer, kind of felt like, is it a Genki Ranger, I believe is how you pronounce it? Basically the Jungle Fury. The finale for that. And I enjoyed that finale a lot. So if they do that, I'm all for that. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what else to say. It's a really good finale, or a really good trailer. So for now, like the video, share the video around. Don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, we're starting the final fight. Peace.